Hi, I'm Jack and welcome back to Real Opinions. This is another film from the London Film Festival. If you want to see anything else that I've covered, click somewhere down at the bottom or somewhere on screen. But today I'm going to be covering Kimi no Nawa, or as it's called in the UK, Your Name. So I wouldn't say that I've seen every Makoto Shinkai film. I have seen 5 centimeters per second, which I thought was a bit overhyped from what I'd heard, and I've also seen Garden of Words, which I hadn't actually heard that much about, but I ended up enjoying it more than 5 centimeters per second. Just for kind of like a background, because these anime reviews tend to get more views from outside, like non-subscribers. I do like romantic stories. I like the kind of boy meets girl story. I mean, it's very cliche and it's very generic, but that's just the kind of stuff that I like the happy-go-lucky romance stuff. That's me to a T. And Makoto Shinkai stuff really fits into that. And so going into this one, I mean, I loved the director. I really like his style. His animation style is just beautiful. And he's one of the few directors that I feel like he can include a really good balance of 2D and 3D animation. Because I feel like a lot of the times with 3D, it's composited badly enough that I kind of get drawn out of it, or something just doesn't quite look quite right. And he's very good at getting just that right balance. So I was very excited for this, and I think it lived up to my expectations, definitely. The animation is just as stunning as before. I don't know what it could have done to surpass my expectations with the animation, but it definitely manages to maintain with that. Just to backtrack for a bit, so the plot is kind of a Freaky Friday-esque body swap story between Taki, who's a high schooler in Tokyo, lives just with his dad, typical kind of teenage boy lifestyle, and Mitsuha, who's a country girl, middle schooler, who lives out in the country in this very small town. Like they say, it doesn't have a cafe, it doesn't have late night opening shops and things like that. And she's also the town's Miko, so she's like her family is the genetic lineage of the village priestess in that town. So her and her sister continue these generational rituals. They're religious, and they're involved with the whole culture of the town, and her grandmother lectures her and her sister about how specifically their town's culture links in with their religion. So one day they find themselves body swapped on different sides of the country, and it's not like they're body swapped and that's it, and they've got to try and figure out their way back to normal. It's that they kind of swap back and forth by the day, every other day. It fell into the tropes of that kind of stuff. I mean, it has to follow the tropes with such a cliche storyline, but I mean, I still enjoy it, and it was doing something different with the body swap thing before, where I'm always used to it, like the Freaky Friday thing, where it's two people that know each other, or they say, oh, I wish I had your life, and then it swaps or something like that. But this is just completely random, and it's on other sides of the country as well, so they don't even, they have to tell each other's names, and they have to slowly give each other information, and they can't meet each other, really. And so that added more to the dynamic as well as this country life, town life. So she's getting what she wants out of it. So she wanted to live in the big city and experience all these things, and he's just, I suppose, he's a teenage boy that gets to be in a girl's body, so I suppose take that as you will. With that, I think what this film did better than the other Makoto Shinkai works that I've seen is that it had an ensemble cast as well, which I quite enjoyed. He typically just focuses on the relationship between two people, but this one, it kind of opened up quite a bit, and it really helped you settle into, not really Tokyo, there wasn't so many people in Tokyo. For the small town, I think it really helped ground the fact that this was a real place. I mean, and it just made it feel a lot more alive, and that really helped as well with the kind of emotional drama that came afterwards. And I thought that the humour was good as well. I mean, it was there were no jokes that you could completely not expect or anything like that. They all fell very much into the typical jokes that you'd have in these situations in another film like this. But they still did them well. They didn't do it it wasn't completely too hammy that you roll your eyes, but at the same time it had a sweetness that made you laugh along with it. I would say that it's clearly not aimed completely at adults, it's aimed at young adults and teenagers. It is that kind of thing. Would I recommend this film? For anime fans, yes. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you've probably already watched it just now. You know if it's going to be your style or not. If you like the kind of slice of life followed by emotional drama, then it's for you. Non-anime fans, I would say that if you're kind of open-minded with the animation and you don't mind going to see something that is quite cheesy, then I'd definitely go and see this. If you have seen animes in the past and you're like, this is not for me, then definitely don't go watch this. I mean, it's common sense, but I have to reiterate that, because the stuff that I'll go into now is that I don't think it's a very accessible film for non-anime fans. It jumps right into a title sequence at the beginning, and it's the exact same with the shows. Like, it's got a kind of pop rock song by Radwimps, I think it is. They do all the songs for the film, not the score. And it's like a sequence that jumps back and forth in the chronology of the film, and it is like a mini trailer for the film almost right at the beginning, which is a bit jarring and it is a bit cheesy. I'll be repeating that word a lot, sorry. And there's a lot of the kind of anime tropes of monologuing and slightly heavy-handed exposition, which if you love the charm of that with Japanese animation, then sure, you'll like it. And strangely enough, actually, out of all the foreign language films out at the festival, I feel like this did the best to show its country's culture, which I actually really enjoyed. This is a positive aspect of it. Like I mentioned earlier, that they have that Mitsuha is involved with the village's religion. It was just really fascinating to just hear about how these like different traditions are so incorporated places in Japan, as well as how it links into their general religion. In a part, it's about how the sort of country life of Japan is sort of fading, which they focus a lot on in anime films, but it's present here as well. And there's jokes that use the language of Japan as well. Like there's a funny joke like kind of halfway through where it's the characters struggling with pronouns because obviously they've switched genders, but there's so many different types of pronoun in Japanese language for yourself or for your gender that they kind of struggle to pick which ones they have to use. But overall, I just kind of wanted to focus on the fact that I would generally consider myself a cynical critic, and I think I'm going to give this a positive review. There's definitely flaws, but it's a very feel-good film, I felt. And like I said at the very beginning, it's about a relationship between two people, which is just something that I personally enjoy very much. It had a interesting idea that it did something new with, and it incorporated that into the building of the relationship, and that was also incorporated in the kind of themes of the story as well, and it's themes that the director has focused on multiple times in his work, which I really appreciated. It's how time works with relationships. People who have seen the film probably understand what I'm talking about a bit more. For instance, in 5 centimeters per second, it's about how time can result in relationships kind of drifting apart. Garden of Words, it's about how this relationship could have worked if it weren't for the fact that one was older and one was younger, and that's time playing it again. And this one, I think it's the clearest about how time can affect a relationship, I suppose, and it's the most unrealistic in that way, in how clear it is. I hate using this term, but it is a film that you get out what you bring into it. And I went into it with a very open mind, and I came out really enjoying it and just having a fun time. It was the only film that I watched twice at the festival, and both times I just felt it was just a very happy film. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd go so far as to say guilty pleasure. I mean, I think I'd say 7 out of 10.